And people were driving down Main Street looking at them.
It's mean.
You know.
He has a house near Lake Michigan.
Oh,
Here you are.
hello.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hello. I have to give you the tour of everybody.
Oh, hey, that's a pretty big book club. Look at that. That's pretty cool. Hi, everybody.
We're showing a couple of people.
Yep. Welcome to Kansas.
Thank you.
80 degrees here today. Hot. And where are you located?
I'm in Indiana.
Indiana.
Oh,
Okay.
Indiana.
Yeah, I'm outside Chicago.
Oh, outside Chicago.
Okay. Well, this is the Novel Thinkers. And welcome.
Very cool.
Yes.
What kind of books do you normally read?
Novels.
You read a variety, just kind of all across the board?
Oh, yeah.
It's,
Oh, yeah.
just Christian fiction. We do, a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Historical,
Cool.
history, and everything in between.
And yours.
We decided to give a genre all of its own.
That, yes.
Yeah.
That's really scratched up.
So this is in a bookstore, is that right?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Very cool. What part of Kansas is this?
South Central. Here, let me get you the.
It's really
Wow.
the state. I mean, we're just 30 miles north of Wichita.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know where Wichita is.
It's.
That's a really cool bookstore.
It's 30 minutes away.
No, it's
It's only
not.
30
Not
minutes.
No, it's not.
Are you in Derby?
No.
They're being unruly. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so we would love to start by having you tell us a little bit about your journey into writing. How I know this is not your first. You got this is 6, 7, 8. I don't know what number it is, but how we got here.
Tell me which book you read again?
The Elusive Truth of Lily Temple.
Okay, that's number 7.
Okay.
So my 8th one is not even out yet. So that's my most recent-ish.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So tell us how you got here to have 7 books on our shelf.
Well, I wrote stories when I was like in 2nd or 3rd grade. I really was bothered by bullies, kind of like picking on kids. And so I wrote these picked on kids as superheroes into stories. And I wrote these crazy stories and hid them in my desk, and they got found and leaked out into the classroom, and nobody knew who wrote them. And it was really fun to kind of watch that evolve. And I was like, man, I've got a quiet voice, but stories are powerful, like they mean something. And then when I was an adult, I worked for a pharmaceutical company, which is as interesting as it sounds. So I got into storytelling again, and I tried to get published and didn't get anywhere at all. I got rejections, I got no answers. And then I was like, okay, well, I started having kids after that. And I was like, okay, I'm going to shelve this publishing thing for 10 or 20 years and come back to it in another season of life. And God said, nope, this is exactly when I want you to get published. And so when I had a newborn, I quit my job the day she was born, basically. And I didn't know what to do with my brain when she was sleeping as a newborn for 4 hours a day. So I started working on my first novel that got published. Sorry, my phone is ringing. After like all the rejections and everything, I just sat down and wrote for fun. And I was like, well, this doesn't have to go anywhere. And that's the one that was my debut novel. And so I've always written kind of in the background of my family life during my kids' nap times and, when they're doing homework and things like that, when they're sleeping in the evenings. And it's just been like this really, really amazing kind of a spiritual practice that I get to spend some time with God through storytelling. And I get to have my family life, and then I get to do this to stretch my brain and my heart. So, yeah, that was a long answer, but
That's great.
So do you plot everything as you go? Like, did you know all these 50 things were gonna happen?
I know every single plot twist in my book before I start writing, and I'm always wrong, 100% of the time.
Oh,
It's honestly, it's the only way that I can enjoy writing still, and that I can surprise readers is if I'm also surprised. So it's a more authentic twist, you know? So I always map out the way it's going to be. I write 70, 80% of it, send it to a bunch of my local friends and say, how does this end? Throw out all their answers, and I have to write something totally different. It's super fun.
So you don't have an end in sight when, I mean, like
I do.
you do, but
it's always
Maybe
wrong.
it's not the right ending.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I always have something in my head that sounds good if I was just like telling you a 5-minute story, but when you actually get into the novel and you get to know the characters, it just takes on a life of its own. It goes somewhere different, and God usually has other plans.
So I love the powerful, well, my brain is a long day. I love the fact that this shows the power of a story and the way that you wove the gospel into this story in just a seamless way, and how Lily had all these stories that Peter's like, this is who your stories have been pointing to the whole time. And I just thought that was beautiful, in a powerful way. That I am a huge proponent of fiction for that very reason, Christian fiction, because I think the power of story is amazing, and God, spoke in parables and all that, and just people are more receptive sometimes when they hear it in a story. So I just thank you for weaving all that into this and making fiction not just frivolous.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's definitely not. I mean, there are some, but not this one.
sure. That was well said. I I love stories. I love absorbing them in any form, and so this was kind of my love letters, stories, and writing in general. I've actually had people tell me that I was wasting my life writing fiction, and I should be writing Sunday school curriculum or nonfiction or something about the Bible or something like that. But to be honest, there are just certain things that are better wrapped up in a story. They go down a little easier, you know? Honestly, the entire Bible is mostly narrative. I mean, there's poetry, there's prophecy, and things like that, but it's mostly narrative, and we draw a whole lot of truth out of that. So, yeah.
So I'm just curious, have you read all of those fairy tales that you quoted? Did you read all of those ahead of time?
I think so. I'm trying to remember if there were any that I just grabbed. I read a lot of fairy tales. My kids are still pretty young and into fairy tales. My oldest is 11, my littlest is 3. So we do a lot of fairy tales. Some we make up, some that we read. So that was already kind of in the forefront of my mind in this season of my life.
I kept thinking if I had read these fairy tales, then I think that school would probably be even more meaningful.
There may have been some that I just kind of made up. I'm trying to remember. It's been a few years. I wrote this book, I don't know, maybe a few years ago.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Mostly quotes Peter Pan or Alice.
yeah. Yeah, no, those are all real.
Yeah.
Um,
They probably should be.
I'm trying to remember. There may have been some that I if I put it as the Makepeace guy's name, like those, if I put quotes in by him, then I made those up.
Okay,
You never heard of The Little Prince?
No, I don't think so.
Oh.
That's a
One of
very,
my absolute favorites. It's an homage to childhood.
Yeah, you think too. My daughter's, one of my daughter's favorite.
I was shocked to know that these movies, like, I kept having to remind myself this was like early 1900s, because I guess the silent movie thing doesn't, I know like 20s and stuff, but that they were able to do the splicing and all that. And I know you said in the back that it was early technology that they were creating, but that was just amazing that they had the insight to do all that.
Yeah. See, the coolest thing is like a lot of the special effects we have today were started then, but they were physical effects. Like we do them digitally now, but they physically like cut and colored and spliced and did like, the little mask over something to block parts of it and re-expose the film and things like that. It was so interesting. And I watched some of those early videos that they did. They're only like a minute and a half or 3 minutes long, but they were so creative. And the coolest thing is they were all done by magicians. So they called them illusionists. But they were not film and movie people. They were illusionists. And so they took that into film, these magic lantern shows, I think they call them too. And I don't know, they brought some like magic to it. They had people exploding out their chimneys. They had, a train going into the tunnel and a bus coming out, all sorts of crazy things. It was really neat.
Where did you find that history? I mean, like, where do you get your ideas or, where did that one come from?
Um, that particular one, I mean, I found these videos on YouTube. When I looked them up, they're actually on YouTube. But where I got the germ of this idea was my grandpa years ago. He was, excuse me, from the World War II era. So he's a soldier in World War II. And he was a magician as well as a photographer. And I remember as a grade schooler, he would teach me how to do these physical things with film. Because back then he had a dark room and he would take black and white pictures from his parents and colorize them. Like he would by hand physically color them and then develop the film. And it was just the coolest thing. I was so captivated by that. And he was the neatest person. I just absolutely adored him. So any magic that I could bring to the story from him, I'm totally all about it.
So this story has like subplots too, with the little girl and the shipwreck, and then the soldier and his girlfriend, fiance,
Yeah.
wife.
Mm-hmm.
How those were gonna come into the story. I mean, that's it. It was like 3-in-1 kind of stories. So
Actually, I had more than that. I had about 6,
oh,
6 or 7,
weird.
because I wasn't sure what I was going to use, but I knew that the detective had to have a bunch of cases he was working on, and they were going to weave into the story, and she was going to help him. And when you're writing a novel, you think this is 100,000 words. I have so much room to tell story. And so I came up with like tons and tons of ideas for them to work on cases, and I narrowed it down way down to my some of my ones. Because I'm more ambitious than realistic, I guess, with my word limits. But I didn't want it to get too convoluted, but those really did add a nice depth to the characters and everything. It was fun.
It just means there can be a sequel. And they can go solve the.
Absolutely. I'm trying to find time to do a spin-off story where I have like a couple short stories of other cases they work on and stuff. And I have ideas that I can pull from, what I couldn't use. But I've been working on full-length novels, so I haven't had the time yet.
So your current one or your next one that's coming out, is it done?
Yeah, it's coming out April 15th.
Oh,
Yeah, it's definitely actually just got my author copies last week. So it's hitting stores and reviewers have it and stuff. So yeah, that I'm looking forward to that one.
What's
have it
the
in
name
next
of
week or
it?
so. Yeah, what's the name of it?
It's called The Curious Inheritance of Blakely House.
I just.
Okay.
Okay,
So, yeah.
Yeah, give us a synopsis.
It's I'm stretching different muscles. I decided to go slightly steampunk vibe. And steampunk is like engineering and, gadgetry and things like that. Not intensely. I don't do any kind of an engineering manual, but my husband's an engineer. And so I asked him when I was thinking about writing in this vein, I was like, so what's alternating current? Can you explain it to me? We had the longest conversation of our marriage. He lit up. It was so much fun. And we just talked and talked, and he got to explain what he's really intelligent at. And so this book is about the heroine actually is the engineer, and she's a little bit like my husband. Um, she's just brilliant about putting things together and fixing things and repairing things. So she inherits this house from an uncle who is an industrialist. It's this giant mansion based on a real mansion, powered by hydroelectricity. And it has just like hundreds of like unfinished gadgets. All these things that he started and didn't finish, from automatons to lights that turn off and on, and just different things. And so she inherits this house and wants to finish a bunch of the inventions, except the servants think, well, everybody in the house thinks that she killed him to inherit the estate. And so then there's also two cousins who believe that they have the right will to inherit the estate. And then there's somebody else who washes up on shore who has an interesting complication to throw in there. So it's really fun. She gets to know the uncle that she never met through the house and through these love letters that he wrote and never sent to somebody. And so there's like a parallel love story that never finished between the uncle and his love, and it kind of parallels the hero and heroine in my story. And she ends up falling in love with the butler of the house, who she thinks is a pirate at first. And so that's really fun because she's not super adventurous outside of books, and he doesn't like to sit still on an island, so he wants to go off on a ship and find things, and she'd like to be comfortable at home. So it's a fun story to write.
What year? I mean, what time period?
I think it's the same time period. I think it was like 1901 or something like that.
Early 1900s.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, so same time period.
So last year we read The Lady's Guide to Misadventures and
Marvels and Misadventures. Yes, yes, that was so fun. So
Yeah.
actually, I was reading that book for endorsement while I was drafting my steampunk vibe book, and I wrote to her and I was like, just so you know, I'm really not trying to piggyback off of you, but this is so fun that we're both writing kind of a similar veined book. They have a totally, totally different style because we're totally different writers. But that was such a fun book.
that was a fun book. So I'm now,
Yeah,
yeah, we'll have your twist on the whole thing. That's fun. Do you ever have short titles? No, yeah.
All of my titles, like I title my Word document as I'm working, and it's like 1 or 2 words.
Yeah.
Like, this one was called The Heiress. And
Okay.
I'm so bad. Or no, sorry, that was the one that that's coming out. This one was The Actress, I think.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember.
Well,
I come up with really short titles, and then my publisher comes up with all of these long, magical, exciting titles, and yeah.
well, the
I'm
next
bad at titling.
we're gonna read for next month is The Unlikely Yarn of the Dragon Lady. So, we
Oh,
got
yes, I'm excited. I haven't read that one yet. I'm excited about it.
it's a fun one. So yeah. So you finished the one, obviously, that's coming out in the next couple of weeks. Are you working on another one yet?
I am. I'm actually going to start a series. I've never done that before. But I'm going to look at a house in Cornwall that's built into the side of a hill. And I start with the most current time period and I work back, and you see the house progressing, and then you see go all the way back to when it was built and why it was built. But each book you find more like secret rooms and secret tunnels, and it just has a really interesting history. There's like smuggling in Cornwall. There was the Crusades. There was William Tyndale spent time down there. So just tons of stuff to explore.
Your brain never shuts off, does it?
No, especially when I'm trying to sleep, unfortunately. I spent a lot of time brainstorming when I was up in the middle of the night feeding newborns. I've had 3 of them. So I just kept files of all these ideas that I'd get in the middle of the night, and now I'm going through them.
Okay.
I wasted my time in the middle of the night. I just wish I could go back.
Me too.
No, me too. Good for you.
So do you like to travel and visit locations where that you're writing about?
I do. I have not been able to travel a lot since having kids. Traveling internationally with kids is it's difficult, especially when they're babies.
Uh-huh.
And then I was planning to go and COVID shut it down. I did go to the UK for my honeymoon for a few weeks, and we walked around. It was so much fun. We did all the castle tours, and then I would go outside and talk to the person keeping the grounds, or I'd walk across the street and talk to the people out there gardening. and I'd get the real stories. It was really fun. And so this actually, we just got passports today, and my daughter and I are going to go to Cornwall to research my new series in June. So I'm super excited because she's not traveled internationally before.
And how old is she?
She is 11, so she's finally old enough to appreciate it. And honestly, I mean, she's read my books.
Oh,
So she would have an intelligent conversation with adults. Like she's my oldest. She's a firstborn. So she's pretty grown up and she's super excited for this. Like she wants to see all the ruins and the castles and the towers, and so it'll be fun.
It's a great opportunity.
Hmm.
Have somebody any thoughts? This book was a challenge for, I think, for all of us, but it was just a beautiful story, and yeah, there was so many pieces that I have my little book all marked up with all the quotes, and this is kind of new to me to mark up my book, but I just had to keep marking because there's so many wonderful quotes. So thank you for
Well,
sharing
thank you.
all those
Yeah.
ladies that gave you these great ideas.
I know my plots tend to get kind of complex because they start out really small and then they're just more and more and more, it just expands, and I know they can probably be kind of confusing, but
All right, we're along for the ride. It's good. Yeah. So thank you.
well, I appreciate you reading it. I'm very honored.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks for writing and keep working. And I think I should have ordered a few more of the new one that came out. 'Cause I see all these.
oh,
they're gonna want.
you've ordered it?
Oh, yeah. I ordered it a long time ago.
I ordered it.
We have to go get in line.
And have fun in Cornwall with your daughter.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You guys enjoy your next book.
Okay,
Thank
we
you.
will.
Thanks for joining us tonight.
Okay.
Oh, my pleasure. Night.
Good night.
Good night.